Hey guys. Man, that did not sound the way I thought it was in my head. Hey guys, hey guys. How do you say a casual hey guys? Hey guys. You know, whenever I'm video conferencing, I just feel so fucking weird. And I don't know how to say bye properly. I've been doing this bye. And I'm just thinking now, wow, that is probably not the best thing to do when you when you're jumping off a call with a bunch of people who are supposed to trust you to do your work effectively. Bye. Anyway, yeah, one of the things I really wanted to chat about recently, I wonder if you guys have felt this way as well, this idea of transitioning from your mid-20s to your late 20s. Now, I'm 27 right now, and I'm turning 28 next year, and there's no real lying about it. Like, I've transitioned to my late 20s, and to me that feels kind of old, and to a lot of people that sounds a little old, right? For the young ones like us. It feels like a big jump from like your 24 to 27. It feels like a huge jump, and a lot of my friends are going through the same kind of transition right now, and they're asking some of the questions that I have, and I think I've thought about this quite a bit, and we get into these discussions, and one of the things I've noticed when you go into your late 20s is you start to feel younger. Like I've started to feel genuinely younger. When I was 24, I think I felt really old for some reason. I felt old because I think how your age really, what it bases itself on, I think, is how much you know, or how much you think you know, right? How much you think you can empathize with the world, with anyone in it. You just think that, you know, because you surround yourself when you're young, you're just coming out of the education system. You've been kept in a pool of just teachers and children, and you know, you don't know anything else. You think you're in this weird kind of ecosystem where you're at the top of the food chain. Same as when you're at uni, you think you're at the top of the food chain. And this is what makes me think that teachers are kind of weird, because they never leave that pool, right? They go to school, they come back into that pool of the very like small pool of the education system. Unless you kind of go out and branch out and have other hobbies, which I'm assuming other people do, and other communities. But anyway, that's off tangent. But I think it's the idea that you think you know everything when you're 24. For me, it felt like that anyway. When you get to 25, 26, the more you discover, the more you realize how little you know, right? I know nothing. I now know that I'm in my 20s, my late 20s, and I know nothing, right? That is how I viewed it, because I've seen what it's like now to, you know, one aspect is obviously family, children. I don't have any children. I don't intend to have any children anytime soon, because I know I'm not ready for the responsibility. And that makes me realize I know nothing, I know very little about that aspect of life, of creating life, of nurturing life, of looking through the world from someone else's, you know, a person who hasn't realized the world from their perspective, taking patience, caring for something and someone more than yourself, and feeling pain when you're not in pain. Those kind of things. I know nothing about that, right? I remember Joe Rogan explaining this and saying, when he used to see people before he had children, he was always seeing them like a snapshot of them, like they are who they are now. Like, he was explaining that he saw Jamie as a 30-year-old man, but then after he had children, he started to realize that people are comprised of experiences and events that have been built out throughout their whole life. So Jamie was a child at one point and he's grown into the man he has, and he was curious about how that happened, right? And I can't understand that. That's what I mean by theoretical to practical. You can hear that kind of stuff. You can hear it and you can somewhat understand it. You can sympathize with it, but you can't empathize. You don't know. You have never felt that way. You've never understood it to the core. And that's what I'm realizing. I notice now that it's like when you're in a job and you go through the induction and you go, oh yeah, I know exactly what this job entails. I know what I'm going to be doing. And then you go and sit on the job, and in your first 6 months, it's like being hit with a fire hose, right? You don't know anything. You really don't. You make mistakes, a shit ton of mistakes. And I've noticed that, and I'm like, I just joined a company at the start of this year. I'm 8 months in, and I still have so many moments where I'm looking at people who have been in the role for longer, or people who are in management positions, and I'm in awe of how they handle situations. And I don't think they realize that. And I think to myself, fuck, I need to get there soon. But, that's another part that I'm discovering as well, which I'll talk about in a bit. The second transition that I've noticed, for me personally, I've become obsessed with this idea of, the necessary transition of becoming a man, how to be a man, what it means to be a man. And another thing I've discovered in lockdown that I probably was exhibiting but I didn't realize at the time is I'm a red pill dude. I believe that men and women are inherently different. I believe that women are better at certain things than men are, but I also believe that men are better at certain things and that they have different roles within society, but particularly within a family, within a unit. When we are a family, we require collaboration. We do not require competition. Competition destroys families. So there should be no cannibalization of the skills that we bring to the table. From my perspective, women are nurturers. They are nurturers. They provide comfort. They can do and feel certain things that men are just incapable of doing. An example is my partner, right? I can go out and I can go and do 10 rounds with a dude, punch the lights out of them. He can punch the lights out of me. I can fucking try and strangle him, and we can go through all this hardship. And that in itself, I know that I can protect my missus. My missus would not be able to do that. My missus would not be able to drag around an 80, 90 kilo dude and try to submit them and want to do that. But what my missus can do so effortlessly is make me feel comfortable, make me feel safe in a different way, make me feel emotionally secure, and which is something that I can't do for other people, right? So, there are things that I definitely think are very different. And recently I've been thinking about, if I want to be a successful person, my idea of a successful person is also being a man. And I think that's what's been bred into me from a young age. My dad's always said, you don't have what it takes to be a man. When I was younger, he was saying that shit to me. He was always trying to... he was saying things, I think he wanted the best in me, but he was always undermining my masculinity. And I think at the time, I just guess I wasn't ready for it. I was a boy. He was starting to say this stuff when I was like 14, 13. And I needed some more time to really experience life for myself and make the mistakes that a young man, like young boy, would make before I could start thinking about being a man. I've been reading this book called The Way of the Superior Man, and it talks about masculine traits and feminine traits and how they're quite separate, right? And one of the things that really stood out to me, one of those principles when he was talking about masculine traits is keeping your word is a masculine trait, right? And it's changed the perspective I've had on my relationship with my missus, but it's changed my perspective on a lot of things. And I realize keeping your word is so important to dudes, and we know this subconsciously, right? But there's more granularity to this as well, and I've noticed as I'm getting older, keeping my word to myself is becoming more important than keeping my word to others. Keeping my word to others is still important. Don't get me wrong. If I say something to someone else that I'm going to be there, that I'm going to do something, that I'm going to be dependable, I'm going to be that person. I think being a man is all about consistency and being dependable. I really think that. But that also applies to myself. And I think going through into my late 20s, that's what I'm realizing. Jimmy Quick says this, right? Jimmy Quick, the guy who claims to be the productivity guru kind of thing, you're trying to get the best out of you, who you are and whatnot, and trying to achieve the best you can, reach your potential, whatever, da-da-da-da. But he talks about how one of the worst things you can do when you wake up is check your phone, right? And he says something interesting here. He says that checking your phone and checking your messages in the morning is like checking your to-do list, and checking your email is like checking the to-do list that other people are setting for you. It's another person's agenda. They might not do it consciously. You might not think it's conscious, but they have an agenda for you, right? It could be your work email where you wake up and 7 other people have emailed you and said, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? And you should be setting the agenda for the day. I want to set the agenda for my life. I want to get things done that I want to get done. The things that I know are important. And that has been a real changer for me. I don't touch my phone. I charge my phone outside my room when I sleep. I've been leaving it there recently just so that I don't wake up and immediately want to turn to it. I won't touch my phone for the first hour of the day. Minimum. I'll try to go as long as I can. On the weekends, I won't touch my phone for 3 to 4 hours if I can, only to use like navigation and shit. I won't check my messages. And, that might be a pitfall of mine. I might have to reply to messages and people might be thinking I'm a dickhead. But, I need to set the agenda for my life to be the man that I want to be. Right? I need to be very strict about who I'm keeping promises to. Like what promises I'm making is really important. And I've transitioned away from that. I used to be making plans with mates all the time, saying I'm going to do something. Now I'll just say, probably not. I can't do that. Unlikely. They might say, you're a dog. Where are your priorities at? I don't care. The agenda I have is for my life. The third transition that I've noticed that I've been going through as I go through this is this idea of patience and purpose. I think they go hand in hand, the two P's. I've noticed that when I was in my early 20s, and I think a lot of people felt this way, is like, shit, I need to find my purpose. Everyone else is kind of especially when it comes to work, right? Everyone's like, oh yeah, and you need to be passionate about what you do. You need to be passionate about your career. And if you're passionate about your career, it feels like you're doing nothing. It feels like it doesn't feel like long hours because you love what you're doing. And you hear this all the time. And And that's why I think I changed my career a couple of times. I changed my degrees, and so many people do this, right? They change their degrees, they change their careers early on in life because they're thinking to themselves, "This, I can't see myself doing this for like another 40 years." And especially in this age where, jobs are continually fluctuating. We don't just have normal professions anymore. We don't have those basic cookie cutter doctor, engineer, lawyers, accountants. They're just not these professions anymore. We've got, I'm in a role where it wasn't a real role 3-4 years ago, 5 years ago. Now it's maybe 10 years ago, sorry. It wasn't a role. Now there are people that are doing it. In Australia particularly, the education system does not reflect, the professional system. You might do something in uni, you might love it. You might do it in a practical. You might try and do it in a real time job, and it just doesn't apply. Academia is so disconnected from the real professions of the world in Australia particularly, which I think is a huge problem. But moving beyond that, being able to try and finding your purpose in a world that is continually changing, that is so dynamic and fluctuating, and hasn't set to an equilibrium. The framework hasn't been set. So how could you find your purpose? You don't even know what you're going to do in 15, 20 years time. And I think that's the thing about it, right? Patience is not rushing your purpose. The idea that one day I'll just be in a job and I'll know and I'll fall in love with it and I'll just want to fuck my company. I'll be aroused by the idea of running spreadsheets. Like, no, that doesn't happen. I don't think that happens for a lot of people. It might happen for like a select few. For me, it hasn't happened. And I realized rushing it is giving me more anxiety and it's not letting me understand. But when I'm at a point in my career where I do kind of realize, shit, the stuff that I did in uni that I thought was going to be a waste of time, the shit that I went through so tangentially, like I was working full time at a bank when I was in uni, and I was doing a retail job, right? It's like I was working in a branch as first a teller, and then I moved on to becoming like a personal banker. And you know what? That was a time in my life where I was thinking to myself, what the fuck am I doing? This is dumb as shit. Now I'm in a role where, part of the reason they selected me for the role was because of my ability to navigate the banking system and the customer service. I've learned so much. I work with the bank now as a vendor. So, it's really interesting how things just fall in place at some time. So, that's one thing I've noticed. Let's calm down. Let's settle down. You might think that something's not working right now that isn't supposed. You might think that you're not going to be doing this for the next 10 years, and you probably won't be. But what you do now, the skills you pick up, what you are trying to achieve right now is going to become really important in effect in a couple years. There is a purpose to this. You are living by God's plan. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm living by God's plan, and I'm not trying to. I can't rush God. God's going to do what He's going to do. And a second piece about this is, I mentioned falling in love with something that you're doing. I realized falling in love with something, love in all aspects, takes effort, and you can't effort. What I'm saying is effort that's sustained over a period of time, right? You can't rush it. If you care about something, you're going to put effort into it, and it's going to mean more to you. And I think I was looking for the easy way out. I was looking for something that I could fall in love with, so I could work on it and not feel like I'm working. And that's lazy, right? I'm just trying to be lazy. I'm trying to feel like I'm not working. But I realize now my passion should be that it's hard. My passion should be that it's a challenge. And this comes back to the second piece that I was talking about. As a man, what's really important, men work, right? When you look at your friends as a dude, what do you think about them? Like, how do you respect your friends? Why do you keep them around you? What kind of people do you want to keep around you, right? You want to keep people around you that are high value. Why would they be high value? Why are men high value, right? Men are judged on what they bring to the table. Women are judged on different things, right? For me, women, first and foremost, I think of my woman and I think of her and I think about her ability to nurture, her ability to make me want to be better because she makes me feel like I need to work for it. I need to work to make her happy. And I like that. She brings out in me the best, not because she nags. And that's what I thought everyone was talking about. He's like, "Nya, nya, 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 nya. You know, do this, do that. You need to be reading. You need to be studying." That's not what it's like. That's not what I think it means to be bring the best out of you when you're with a woman. Bringing the best out of you is knowing that you want her to have a better life. And for her to have a better life, it's not her responsibility. She's not going to be able to do it. She's not going to be able to build that life for herself that she wants, that she deserves. And it falls on the man to do that. And this is what I mean about equality. Like women and men, I get it. You know, you want equal opportunity. I understand that. But I think that it really is something that is a two-sided, I mean, double-edged sword, right? Like if you're a woman and you want equal outcomes, you need to be able to understand you're going to have to take on extra responsibility for those outcomes. If you want higher pay, you need to be able to know that you need to pour yourself into your work. It's going to be hard. It's not easy. I don't want a leadership role at this stage of my life, right? I don't want a leadership role because I understand, okay, it's going to give me more money, but the money's not worth it from my perspective in terms of the responsibility I then take on, right? Add another zero to my paycheck. If you add another zero to my paycheck, I'm taking on more responsibility that is in effect equivalent, if not more, than how the dollar figure assigned to it. Like the organization knows they're not going to lose out on this, right? What kind of business is going to make a poor business decision in going, I'm going to pay you a shit ton for doing nothing, for doing exactly the same thing that you're doing now? No, you have to step up, right? Step up to that challenge. And, you know, this third transition in life, I'm realizing I need to take patience in what I do. I need to be patient. And if I want to have a purpose, you know, I'm going to need skills, right? And I'm building my skills now. Skills take patience, diligence to build. You need to practice your skills over a long time to get better at. You don't get better at jiu-jitsu over in a night. You can't be a fucking jiu-jitsu god in a night. And people say, yeah, it takes 10 years to make a black belt. I realize why it takes 10 years. Every other fucking combat sport, I think, okay, not every other, but like the ones I've experienced, taekwondo, boxing, all this stuff, you can get to a certain level pretty quickly, right? If you got you're decently athletic, you're fast, you're powerful, you've got attributes for it, you can get to a certain skill level pretty quickly. With jiu-jitsu, you can't, right? Jiu-jitsu actually takes a lot of effort to get good at. It takes patience, takes diligence. And I think I'm at a phase where when you're in your late 20s, you realize it's crunch time. You need to start building these skills. When you're in your 30s, you should not be looking to attain new skills. You should be looking to sharpen the skills that you already have. You should be closer to a finished product than you were in your early 20s. And as you get older, I think all of us are realizing this. Things don't get easier. Things don't get simpler. You want to simplify your life. You want to find ways to simplify your life. Like even the simple aspect of going from your parents' house to renting. A lot of my friends are still living at their parents' house, right? And I'm fine with, like, that's fine. I think that's perfectly normal. But you should be using, like, I've moved out of the house a while ago, and I realized the transition, how difficult it is to budget when you're paying for everything yourself, to be completely independent, to have no backup, right? It is hard. It's hard to think that way. But now I know I have that independence. And Stephen Covey in Successful Habits speaks about how after independence comes interdependence, right? To be really successful, you have to be independent. And you have to be able to rely on other people to provide you skills that you don't have, but also know what skills you have so that you can provide to other people. But you can't do that unless you're independent, right? So I think I'm at that point where I'm independent, where I've got down pat the habits required. I got to go grocery shopping on Sundays. I always leave early on hangouts because I need to go make dinner for my missus or something like that, and I always cop shit for doing that. But I know what is required to maintain my relationship with my missus, to make her feel safe, to make her feel like that she's valued, because I value her and she needs to value me in order for our partnership to work. And I also understand that we've got things to do, errands that we need to run on a weekly basis at a certain point in our time. If we want to create a comfortable environment where consistency is key. And I realized as you get older, right now I've moved out and I've got to pay my car bills, I've got to pay insurance on that, and I've got to, furnish my own home, and if things break, I need to sort it out. Like if sink breaks, I need to call up the landlord and find a way to fix it, or I need to fix it. And there's such a multitude of things that, happen, happen to become more of responsibility as you get older. And I can't imagine what it's like to have children. But I'm ready to grind, right? Right now, I realize things will not get easier. The only thing that can change is that I will get stronger. That the load on my back is not going to get smaller, but my shoulders can become broader, right? I want to be strong, and right now, I'm at a point where I'm going to challenge myself. And I think that's such it was such a big difference from when I was like in my early 20s. Early 20s, I really wanted to cruise. But now I that's the furthest thing from my mind. I want to be challenged. I want to be outside of my comfort zone, because I know at some point this is going to be valuable to me. Being able to have resilience, being able to grind is going to be so important. Anyway, that's all I have for this. If you did listen to this end to end, holy shit. Mate, you and I, whoever it is, you and I need to have a chat. And if you did listen to this end to end, mate, if you have any questions, if you want to have a chat, let me know, because I'm super keen. If you're a like-minded person, let's have a chat, because this is the reason I'm doing it. Part of the reason is because I want to know who else thinks the way I think. And I think everyone wants to find that, right? Let's find the niche that we sit in. It helps us define who we are even faster. And once you know who you are, mate, the world is your limit. You need to know where your skills are limited to and what you need to rely on other people for. But anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Let's try to do this on a regular basis, eh? Anyway, signing off, Gronk Village, a little bit of a different one. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.